Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. And on this week, this week's episode, I want to just keep touching base on some client conversations and chats I have with my clients in person, and just topics that come up that I think might be relevant for everybody to maybe have a little insight into, and somewhere along the line that can help. So this week, then one of my clients, you were having a chat just about, I suppose, the general training that people should be doing, and what's the as again and again it's a question I would get asked a good bit, like how much should I be doing, how much weight training should I be doing, how much cardio, if you want to call it, I should be doing. You get asked these questions. So and I'm going to look at it from the basics, and that was kind of the answer I gave as well, because I think people ignore the information that's already there, and like they're not actually covering the basics yet, and they're worrying about a lot more than they need to be thinking about, especially like that when they're starting back into training or wanting to start into training or weight training or like that. I would have some people that would be great for walking, but they don't do the resistance training part or the strength training part, and they wanted to, and they are doing that. So if we look at it from purely from a health perspective, and look at it from there, and what's the recommended weekly, kind of, I suppose, on average, um, amount of, we'll say, resistance training first, and the minimum is 2 sessions. More, great, but I think getting people to do two weight resistance sessions twice a week, where you're hitting the major muscle groups across probably 5 to 7 exercises, give or take. Again, because it's always going to be dependent on someone's starting point too, previous injuries, training history. I won't say age comes into a factor, but like your ability to recover and where you're at there, and your stressors and things, work life, family life, your sleeping habits, your nutritional habits, all those other things do need to be looked at and taken into consideration. But I think rather than trying to overwhelm too much at the start, we say, right, can we get 2 days of resisted training working from a base level? And again, this idea of this is, well, you're doing this for life. It's a lifestyle change that helps people get stronger bones, muscle, ligaments, tendons, um, and it helps with so many other things as well. Like, but we're looking from the just the general recommended amount of resistance training. And then if we look at, say, we call it cardio training or cardiovascular training, where we're looking to elevate our heart rate from a health, again, perspective. So we're talking heart, lungs, um, and how we keep that stronger and help kind of mitigate things that can happen later in life or down the line, or at this stage at any time in life. um, is we're looking at hitting roughly about 150 minutes to 300 minutes of moderate intensity per week, which is, if you were to break that down, moderate intensity means that if you were out on a walk, jog, cycle, swim, hike, that kind of thing, that you could hold a conversation. You're feeling like your heart rate is up a little bit, it's working a little bit harder, but not at a point where it's straining you and you're struggling to hold a conversation. So break that down into 30-minute sessions 5 times a week, and of walking, or whatever your choice is. Um, and that covers your basics for that. Or you can look at maybe adding in or including some what we would call vigorous intensity activity, where we're escalating that heart rate more. It's more elevated, breathing is a bit harder, conversation is difficult to hold, but that's on a scale of about 75 minutes to 150 minutes per week. And like that, if we're running, we're adding maybe some little bit of intervals into it, or on a bike, adding some intervals, some harder pace things. But again, we don't have to do everything at once and start there again if we're starting from scratch, because I would say that focusing on your aerobic is an important starting point from base level of fitness, and before we look at adding more. I suppose, vigorous stuff, and what your body is capable and able to sustain and able to take on point of view. So even if we just look at it from that, like that is the basic kind of general recommendations to start with. So then when someone starts off and they'll say, yeah, I want to do 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions a week. Okay, great. But how do we break them down? Like, you know, doing too much too soon is probably one of the biggest things that throw people off from continuing at all and not really meeting themselves at their starting point. They set the bar too high. There's this expectation that I need to do more, I need to do loads. But if you haven't been training for a long time, or you maybe you train in the past and in your head you think you can get back to where you were, and you're going to be like you're literally starting from fresh all over again. You have to build up the capacity in yourself to be able to do the sessions, do the training, and also recover from it. I think that's the biggest thing. It's your ability to be able to recover from what you do is the starting point really. Because like that, if you're going to go into 3 strength sessions a week, but then for the next 2 weeks you're not able to do anything, well then you're way off your ability. Whereas if you start with 2 sessions, 30 minutes, just looking at learning the movements, you're still going to be under a little bit of load, but learning the movements, getting your body used to the movements, training the movements, and building up that capacity, you'll be far able to stay ahead longer and you'll enjoy it far better. But like that, majority of people are probably not even hitting those basics. So people are worrying about far more bigger things and other things than just hitting the basics. And this is why I love the simplicity of, or why I try and, I suppose, get across the simplicity in this. Like it doesn't need to be an all or nothing, all out. And again, I think that it has to be a bit of a mindset shift around it too, that you're wanting to do this forever. It's a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle choice that's going to better your lifestyle, better your life, better your longevity, all these, or better your just mood, health, everything. So we want to promote it in a positive way and not think that you have to go in, as I would say, burying yourself in every session and you feel absolutely in bits after it. Yes, we want to work hard, but we gotta earn that kind of ability to be able to do that. And I like to think of starting back into training, set the bar as low as possible. One, because not just from the training perspective and what you're doing in your training, but the actual ability to be able to go and do sessions within a schedule, within a time, within what time have you available to you. The traveling to a gym, the traveling home, your changing logistics of the day. That plays a factor in, I think, that people don't really think about, you know. Um, and then once you start getting in the groove of it, and as I said before in the previous podcast, like at 4, 6 week marks, then we can start looking at other things. But until then, you kind of have to go through a process of building those blocks. Do you know what I mean? And again, I often use the example of, well, you wouldn't build a roof first before you build a foundation on a house. So why is this any different? And I suppose then once you're seeing that this is a way that's going to be able to be sustainable and that you're enjoying it and you're progressing with it and you're getting the benefits, you're feeling the benefits, it's then looking at, maintaining this now as a way of life. It's something I do that just keeps me fit, healthy and strong. And I think that as well comes with time and it comes with practice, but it'll only come when at the start that's set up in the right way for you. So I think starting out 2 resistance training sessions a week, again, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to start with, that's maybe all you got time for, and that's what you work with. And then, getting out for some nice steady walks, jogs, biking, swimming, hikes, whatever you like, a row machine in the gym, whatever suits that you're going to be able to stick to. Because like that cardio can be a little bit monotonous, you're there for 30 minutes, so you got to find something that you can stick to, you enjoy, that you maybe, like for me personally, running is something I enjoy from a cardiovascular training point of view, because it allows me to zone out and allows me just to switch off from the world for half an hour, 40 minutes or a bit more. And you can just not worry about looking at phones, looking at screens. I don't even listen to podcasts or anything like that anymore. I just go out and run purely from the switch off point of view. So you got to find what works best for you and what's manageable, again, within your week. And I think that is where you will build consistency from. You will build this ability to be able to be consistent. And as you get through the weeks, add more intensity. And as your body adapts, being able to recover from it. And as I said, that is a massive thing that people don't consider enough of. And like that, as I always say as well, there'll be phases in life where look, even 2 sessions a week is hard to get in, and that's fine. But when you've built up enough, as I say, fitness in the bank, or you've built up enough repetitions, you know, uh, a week where maybe things had to be scaled back a little bit, or maybe just one session gets done, it keeps the thing ticking along. And again, you got to look out at this bigger picture of the wider scope here, the long term trying to positive impact or trying to have on your life and lifestyle changes. And that's really, I think, what's massively important. So just to wrap this up, I think if you're looking to start back into training and you're wanting to get into the gym, and I suppose when I am recording this podcast, we're kind of coming towards the end of August, and it gets to the time of year where people are kind of thinking about getting back into the routine after the summer and all that kind of stuff. Start with the minimum effective dose for where you are right now. Get into a gym, get into even a home start, just something twice a week where resistance train, like your body is a resistance, push-ups, squats, lunges, pull-ups if we can, or variations of, that's all resistance. We can use that to our advantage. Again, it's just about being smart and clever with it. Or get into a gym or something where you can get in and start building something into your life that doesn't matter what season or what month or what day of the week it is. It's just something you consistently do. When you see yourself as someone who, I suppose, does this now from I look after myself, and like I have a few clients that are like in their 60s, and it's as they would say, it's from a future proofing point of view. They want to not have to worry about the balance and falls and things that are more susceptible as we get older, and that's the reality of it. But you've got to put yourself in that position then to be, strong and capable and able. And people are far more capable than to give themselves credit for too. And that's another conversation for another day. But start if you're going to start, and if you're looking to start back into training or back into some sort of exercise routine, start with the basics. Start with that baseline. 2 resistance training sessions a week. 30 minutes of 5 days a week of some walking, jogging, light jog, bike, something like that, where you can raise the heart rate a little bit, but it's not going to be massively taxing on you. You can still have a conversation, go with a buddy, and the two of you can chat away, which you're still getting the heart rate elevated a little bit. Start there. Start there, do that come back in 4 to 6 weeks, do that, and then we can look at moving things on more if need be, because like that your body will have adapted, and then there comes a point where you've got to progress things on. But again, we're just looking at the start point. We're just trying to get you started where you start building that solid foundation for the long term. So also I have a link in the bio which has a thing called my Simple Strength Starter. It's a little free resource that has that exactly in it. 2 strength training sessions, simple, going through the movement patterns that you will need to build on, and kind of some explanations as to why these are important and how to apply them, and the where to start, weight wise, effort wise, all that kind of stuff. So if you like that, the link is below in the description somewhere for this on Spotify. But also message me on Instagram if you'd like a copy of it, and I'd be happy to chat to help you out, get you going and get started, and we'll chat again next week.